Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tessie and today we'll be learning how to make a Victorian corset. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, kindly do so. Thank you. Folded my pattern paper into two. So the first step is to draft out our basic bodice block. So from the starting point, I'll be taking my shoulder measurement divided by 2. My shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2 will give me 7.5. So I'm just going to chalk my 7.5. And from that point, I'll come down to the armhole area. My armhole is 9 inches, so I'll be chalking 9 inches. My bust point is 11 inches. My underbust is 14 inches. My waist is 17 inches. And I'll be using this pattern for the length of the top. Go ahead to connect this line. Now on the starting point, I'll take my neck measurement. So I'll be using 3 inches and I'll come down by 3 inches. Now I'll go ahead to connect these lines together. After doing that, I'll be coming down here by 1 inches for my shoulder slope. Now I'll be connecting from this neckline to the 1 inches line. So I'll be checking what I have here. So I have 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4. I'm going to chalk the 4 here and I'll be coming in here by half an inch. On the chest line area, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust divided by 4 will give me 9.5. So I'll be curving from this 9.5, I'll be curving it in here. From this point, I'll curve it to this point. So what I'll be doing next is for the yoke, I'll chalk where I want the neckline to start from. So from the shoulder line, I chalked 7 inches. Now go ahead to connect my lines. This will serve as the yoke. So from this point, I'll be chalking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. My nipple to nipple divided by 2 will give me 4. So I'll chalk 4 inches on all the points. Now I'm going to connect the lines together. So after doing that, this is what I have. So what I'll be doing next is inserting my darts. On the underbust area, I'll be coming in here by 1 inch and also 1 inch on this bust point line. So I came in here by 1 inch and I'll also come in here by 1 inch. I'll do the same thing for the waistline. I'll be coming in by 1 inch and also 1 inch on this part. On the top length, I'll be coming in by half an inch on both areas. Now I'm going to connect these lines together. So what I'll be doing is connecting the both line to the bust point line using my curve ruler. Now on the chest line, I'll be coming in here by 1 inch and also coming here by 1 inch. Now I'll be connecting these two lines to the bust point line using my curve ruler. After doing that, this is what I have. I'm just going to tick out my darts. So after taking out my darts, this is what it looks like. What we'll be doing next now is working on the neckline area. So you choose any neckline that you want to use. If you want it four corner, you leave it this way. If you want a sweetheart neckline, from this point, you either come down by 1 inches, 1.5 or 2 inches. It depends on how deep you want the neckline to be. So let's say I'm working with 2 inches. So from this point, I'm just going to curve to this point. So this is what I have. So now what I'll be doing is from this point, I'm just going to blend it into the armhole. You can either use your curve ruler or a free hand. So just blend it into the armhole this way. So after blending it in, this will serve as the yoke. I'm just going to indicate my yoke. So now when drafting a Victorian corset, we need to snatch our waist and we need to add multiple darts to the Victorian corset. So now for the waist snatching, my waist is 28 inches. I'll be taking 2 inches off. You can either take 1 inches, 1.5, 2.5. It depends on how snatched you want the waist area to be. So my waist is 28 inches. I'll be taking 2 inches off. Now my new waist measurement will be 26 inches. 26 inches divided by 4 will give me 6.5. I'll chalk my 6.5 on this point and I'll place back the 2 inches that I took. I have it here. Now, you know that we'll be adding multiple darts to this Victorian corset. So I'll be adding extra 2.5 inches on this waist area. I'll add extra 2.5 inches. That 2.5 inches, I'll be sharing it for my darts. So I added extra 2.5 inches, which is on this point. So now what I'll be doing now is on the top length, I'll place my hip measurement divided by 4. So my hip divided by 4 will give me 10.5. I'll add the 1 inches that we took. You know, we took half inch here, half inch. That's 1 inch. I'll place it back here. Note, I'm not adding any allowance to the hip area. Now I'll go ahead to connect my dots together. So I'm connecting this point, I'm connecting this point, and I'm also connecting this point together. So you know we added 2.5 inches for our dart sharing on the waistline. So what I will do now is I'll check what I have from this point to this point. So I have 6 inches. I'll divide this by 2. It will give me 3. So I'll chalk 3 inches on this point and I'll just make a straight line. So what I'll be doing next is on the underbust, I'll take 1 inches on this point and on this point. And I'll do the same thing for the waistline. I took 1 inches here, 1 inches. Now I'll be connecting the lines together. What I'll be doing next is connecting. So I'll be connecting this point from this underbust to this point here. Just watch what I'm doing. So I'm just going to connect. I'll also connect this point to the top length. So guys, after doing that, this is what I have. I'm just going to tick out the darts. So after doing that, this is what I have. As you can see, I took 1 inch on this point, 1 inch on this point. So I have total of 2 inches. Now I'm left with half an inch. When drafting, you know we inserted 2.5 inches for the dart sharing. And I've taken 1 inch here, 1 inch here, which is 2 inches. Now I'm left with half an inch. That's half an inch. I'll be placing it on this center front of my pattern. On the underbust area, I'll be placing the half an inch on that line. I'm going to connect it to the waistline just like this. Now from this point, I'm just going to slant it to the top length, and from this point I'll also slant it to the chest line. Now I'll go ahead to tick out my darts. So after doing that, what I'll be doing next is coming off from this point because I'm going to be curving my Victorian corset. So from the top length, I'll come up by 4 inches. You can come up by 2 inches, 3 inches. It depends on how curvy you want it to be. So from this point, I'm just going to come up by 4 inches and I'm going to be curving it. Just going to place it this way and I'll be curving it. So this place, I'll be taking it off. So guys, this is what we have for the front pattern of the Victorian corset. So what I'll do now is label my points so you don't get confused. This will be the center front, this is my middle, and this is the side. So I'll label this as the center front, the middle, and the side. So this will be C, center front, this will be my middle, and this will be my side. So this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So now I'll go ahead to cut out my pattern. So before cutting, I just want to make some few adjustments. For me, this neckline is too deep, so I just want to bring it up a bit. So guys, I'm going to take this off, but if you want your neckline deep, if you want it exposed, you can leave it this, or you can even go deeper, but I don't want mine exposed at all, so I'm just going to take this off. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch. You can choose to leave it this way, it just depends on your preference. So I came down by 1 inch. So guys, from this 1 inch, I'm just going to curve in the sweetheart. So guys, this is what I have. So guys, after doing that, on this side, I'm just going to blend it in. Just going to blend it in this way. I don't want it too deep. So this side will serve as my yoke. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. So guys, after cutting out the front part of the Victorian corset, this is what we have. As you can see, this is my yoke. So what we'll be doing now is cutting out the back. So I'll go ahead now to cut out the back. So for the back, I folded my pattern paper into 2, and when drafting a Victorian corset, it is advisable to use a loop. So I'm not going to be using a zip. I'm just going to be drafting out my bodies without adding zip allowance. On the starting point, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder divided by 2 will give me 7.5. I'll come down to the armhole line, which is 9 inches. And my waist is 17 inches and the top length. So I'll go ahead now to connect these lines. So what I'll be doing now is I'm going to be taking my neck measurement. So I'll be using 3 inches. And I'll come down by 1 inches for the shoulder slope. I'll go ahead now to connect my lines together. So what I'll do next is I'll check what I have from this point to this point. So I have 8 inches divided by 2 is 4. I'll chalk my 4 inches on this point. So I'll be placing my bust measurement divided by 4 on that chest line. So my bust divided by 4 will give me 9.5, which I have here. So I'll go ahead to curve out my armhole. So after doing that, you know, when we were drafting the front pattern, we came down by 7 inches for the neckline. That's for the yoke. So I'll be coming down by that same 7 inches for the yoke. Now go ahead to connect the lines together. So guys, after doing that, what I'll be doing next is I'll be placing my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4. So I'll chalk 4 inches on all the lines. Now go ahead to connect my lines together. So guys, what I'll be doing next is I'll be placing my darts. On the waistline, I'll be taking half an inch on both sides. So I took half an inch on this side and also half an inch on this side. I'll connect this half an inch straight up and also connect it down. So what I'll be doing next is placing my body measurement. On the chest line, you place your bust measurement divided by 4, which I have here. On the waistline, I'll place my waist measurement. Then I'll replace back this dart we took. That's 1 inches dart, which I have here. Then I'll be adding 1.5 inches for my dart sharing. I'll be adding 1.5 inches. Take note. So I added 1.5 inches for the dart, which I have here. So now I'll go ahead to connect this point to this point. So what I'll be doing next is on the top length, I'll be placing my hip measurement divided by 4. So my hip divided by 4 is 10.5. I'm just going to chalk it down. I'm not adding allowance to it. I'll be adding allowance on my main fabric. So I'll go ahead to connect these lines together. So what I'll be doing next is on this waistline, we added 1.5 inches for the dart sharing. So you check what you have from this point to this point. So we are doing exactly what we did on that front pattern. I will check what I have from this point to this point. So from this point to this point, I have 5 inches. As you can see, I'll divide it by 2. It will give me 2.5. I'm going to chalk my 2.5, which I have here. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to make a straight line. So now what I'll be doing next is I'll be taking half an inch on this side and half an inch on this other side as well. So I have half an inch here and half an inch here. So I'll connect this point straight up here and connect it down as well. So guys, as you can see, I took half an inch on this side and half an inch, which will give me total of 1 inches. And we left 1.5 inches for the dart sharing. So I'm left with half an inch. So on this side of the pattern, I'll be taking that half an inch. So I went ahead to chalk half an inch. And I'm just going to connect from this point straight down and from this point straight up. So guys, this is what we have, as you can see. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to be taking out my darts. After doing that, what I'll be doing next is, we came up by 4 inches. So I'll also come up by 4 inches on the back area. So I'm just going to chalk that 4 inches. I have it here. Then I'll go ahead now to curve in my curve. So guys, we are adding a loop at the back side of the Victorian corset. So what we are going to be doing now is we're going to be taking some inches off. So you determine how exposed you want the back to be. So from this point, I'm just going to take 1 inches on this point. On the waistline, I'll be taking 1.5. You can take 1 inches, 1.5. It depends on you. So I'll take 1.5, which I have here. And on the hip line, I'll take 1 inches. So now I'll go ahead to connect these lines together. So now I'll be taking this part off. So now the reason why we took this place off is because we are adding a loop to it. So now this is where the loop will be. I'll be attaching my loop just like this. Neckline, you can just choose to slant from this point, slant it straight down. It depends on the kind of neck that you want to do. Let's say the neckline I'm doing, I'm just going to slant from this point to this point. So guys, as you can see, this is how the neckline is going to be. So I'll chalk this part as my back yoke. So you can choose to do any neckline that you want. You can choose to come down by 3 inches, curve your neckline and give it a keyhole neckline. That's, you just curve from this point to this point, or you can choose to do it this way. So it all depends on your preference. So guys, we are done with the back pattern. So now you need to label so that you don't get confused. So this will serve as my center back. This will serve as the middle back, and this will serve as my side back. So I have my number 1, 2 and 3 for the back. Now I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. So guys, as you can see, this is what the back pattern looks like with the yoke. So this is what it looks like. So guys, this is what it looks like. This is for the front and this is for the back. Hope this tutorial was helpful. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment, and I will see you guys in the next class. Bye.